Okay, Malak is seated. Janne, want to come up? Simon, yeah, just take a chair. Yeah, anywhere. Let's give them a hand so we know that they know we're paying attention.
Still good morning. Yeah, it's been some time we are here. I hope you're enjoying talking about quantum and maritime. The idea of quantum and maritime, I haven't seen so much talk about it, conversation about it, and been always looking at critical infrastructure and what quantum can do. And coming from the background of law economics and practice and dual use and all what is related to technology transfer that has national security implication. So quantum and maritime, I believed a combination of a technology and industry that need to have special attention. And Quantum Innovation Summit, second one, and there we go. We met Dr. Yasser Al-Wahidi, and one of the leaders who I did not have to convince in order to tell him that quantum is, with AI, the technology that will change everything, and security is very, very important into it. And when we talk about maritime, the sector itself is the lifeblood of global trade. It carries today, not only by vessels and ports, but by the trust embedded, which is very important. So before we were, like humans, we were looking at the stars and being guided through the stars in order to go around and look for new opportunities when we were primitive. Today, it's the digitalization. And what quantum can bring as added value into this industry is huge advantage for national security, for industries, economic security, health security, and all what is related to security in general. Then here we had 2 demos. And these demos are bringing together 2 of the leaders who are working, one of them in the UAE, pushing forward. And I thank you for your leadership and, of course, TII leadership for pushing forward the adoption of quantum technology into different sectors. And IDQuantique, who I remember in 2016, when I've seen the first satellite, the Chinese satellite was launched, it was for me a flag, is the next security concerns will be quantum, and how nations will be beaming quantum. It would be used as advantage, and also it would be used as disadvantage to others. And one of the companies I looked at in 2016, it was IDQuantique, and I say, one day, probably, I will meet them. So today we are together. I would like for you to introduce yourself, even though you had the demo, and to tell us exactly what you are doing, and in a nutshell, what your company is doing. And then we will go through a debate about one of the best debates ever, and this is why it's called Fireside Chat, is post-quantum cryptography and QKD. So let's start first. Let's start first with the good stuff, then we go a little bit to heat it up, to make some fire. So the floor is yours. We start with Simon. Yeah.
Sure, okay, going from left to right. So, yes, hi everyone. Many of you have probably seen me in the, bless you, in the previous, some of the previous conferences. Malak has organized so many here in the region, so I'm always happy to be back. And thank you very much for hosting the conference, Dr. Yasser and the Port of Abu Dhabi team and Maritime Academy. Really privileged. I'm based out of UK at the moment, Canadian otherwise, Croatia born. So I'm a bit of a maritime child myself. So sea is not far from me in general, and I'm a swimmer, by the way. So Happy to discuss the topic. I run Quantum Safe business unit within IDQuantique. We have two business units. One is called Quantum Detection Systems, which is single photon detectors that have many applications. The other is Quantum Safe Security, which includes quantum key distribution, quantum random number generators, and quantum key management systems, which is the software platform that enables seamless key distribution in a very large network. And very large network would mean, in particular use case where we're sitting today, distributing keys between the Port of Abu Dhabi as a company to all of their endpoints, being terrestrial in data centers or vessels. So one platform to manage it all. And just to mention, we have been acquired recently by IonQ, which is an American quantum computing company, now quantum networking and quantum sensing company, growing very quickly. And it's a fantastic moment for us to be part of a larger family of the new technologies in a very peculiar moment in time, I would say, where things are happening at a rapid pace.
Thank you so much. Now, Janne, the floor is yours. Can you introduce yourself? And of course, introduce the UAE-born baby which is doing a great job already. It's Quantum Gate.
Thank you, Malak. Thank you for Abu Dhabi Port, Dr. Yasser. This is a great pleasure to be here today. So my name is Janne Hirvimies, as I mentioned before. Yes, I'm the CTO of the Quantum Gate, and I've been with Quantum Gate 1 year. Before that, I had a pleasure of, I've been actually part of the tech ecosystem here in UAE since 2016, and before joining the Quantum Gate, I was part of the Edge group, working that side of the world, also something to do with the secure communication. And then roughly a year ago, I had a great opportunity to join the ATRC ecosystem. So basically how it's structured that since 2020, there's been a government-funded research institute, TII, with 10 different research centers focusing from quantum to cryptography, autonomous, sorry, I can't even remember them all. And then we have the Venture One, which is basically the commercial arm of all of this great technology asset. So I'm coming from the Venture One side, and then under the Venture One we have these new babies, as you mentioned. And a year ago we launched the Quantum Gate. The company itself is new, but still our technology has been in the works already years under the TII research.
Umbrella.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So what is important also to note is sovereignty. And sovereignty in technology is very, very important. And that's why it's important to have Abu Dhabi Maritime Academy push forward the R&D and research that can be implemented into the different streams in maritime in order to have sovereign technologies, whether it is related to security or its optimizations and others. And it's a pride for us to be here and to be among these companies or these institutions, because this is the goal of Vernwal, is to push forward the boundary that we have, our capabilities is sovereign in the UAE, whether it's the human capabilities or its technological capabilities. Now, the next question. Can you tell the audience, because I think even if you touch one person from the maritime industry and he understands your technology, you have an ambassador. So if you want to tell to this one person, maybe in the audience, he's not from quantum, let's say, what is the problem with quantum and why you are doing what you are doing, what you are bringing as a solution for the problem that you think it needs to be addressed. So I start with Janne.
Thank you. Okay, also here in UAE, it may be worth mentioning, as His Excellency Dr. Al-Kuwaiti was here, the Cybersecurity Council is driving the post-quantum security strongly. And on the global scale, UAE is the leader in this space with the new regulation, new executive orders, and so forth. So there is actually, at the moment, around 80 entities that are mandated, government entities that are mandated to do the transition to what we call post-quantum technologies. And of course, we've been, privileged to be part of that journey and helping these entities to transform. So that's the regulative part. But then technology-wise, as I mentioned in my previous presentation, the sad truth is that when the quantum computers are available, it will touch our daily life. So everything and anything we are currently doing over the interwebs, whether we are sending the email, we are, logging into the web bank or doing any transactions online, will be impacted by these devices.
Exactly. I heard so many times Simon speaking about the urgency of the transition and the threat that it is yesterday, not tomorrow. So can you put it together in a nutshell to present the urgency of what needed to be done?
Yes, for sure. Let me just give a bit of a segue into what's the relevance of quantum and so on. So a couple of years ago, I was part of a NATO classified project looking at the threats coming from quantum, from non-NATO countries and so on. And not just quantum, there was like 6 domains in it. But out of all these domains, quantum was most important. And quantum is the most important compared to, they were looking at missiles, satellite technologies, advanced materials, telecommunication in general, AI and quantum. Quantum was the most important, looking at the threats. And that was confusing me a lot. That was about 4 years ago. I was thinking, why would quantum be more important than all the other domains? And then when I spoke a little bit more with people and they laid it out to me, something like this, geopolitically. So quantum is the only opportunity for countries looking at a geopolitical, geostrategic race to catch up quicker by an order of magnitude than ever before. And that may be a confusing thought, but in reality, if you think, we still live in you can call it the Silicon Valley age, the age of the technological progress from the 60s and 70s that was made from the Silicon Valley. And if you look at this, the geopolitics and the state intelligence and so on, you have the dominance of these technologies and platforms that are coming out of Silicon Valley. And so if you look at countries that are looking to compete on a geopolitical scene, such as China and other countries, India and so on, it takes 30, 40, 50, 70, 100 years to yield these next generation technologies and to yield advancement out of them. However, quantum promises a fast catch-up, very rapid catch-up, meaning that if you're early with your quantum advancement, quantum compute and other quantum advancements, you can, within just a couple of years, come up with new materials, new chemical formulas, new biological experiments and formulas. You can transform your economy, your industry, your weapons exceptionally rapidly. So you can catch up to if you're delayed for 30, 50, 70 years. And this, unfortunately, also includes the espionage, both on the state-sponsored level as well as from the commercial perspective. Access to computing power, and now within being part of IonQ and looking at how to scale quantum computing much more rapidly with several recent acquisitions, we see what Janne was mentioned, the timeline shrinking rather than being extended. That would mean that any data tapped today, instead of waiting for 15 years from now to be able to crack public key cryptography, that might happen much, much earlier than that. Looking at what experts in the quantum migration space. There's the word migration, meaning going from the old public key cryptography to new public cryptography. Looking at what top experts say, and particularly people who manage very complex systems in very large companies, and I've been sitting with them for the last couple of years, they say there's absolutely no chance a large company can do it in under 10 years. Anybody who thinks they can do it in 10 years probably does not understand the problem. So we're looking 10 to 15 years, meaning that being tapped today is easy. Anybody can be tapped today, data can be open 5 to 10 years from now. But because it will take you 10 years to become quantum safe, anything between now and 10 years from now, you're essentially open on different parts of your network. Hence the urgency. You have to plan from that moment on when you're quantum resilient backwards and see when do you need to start in order to be ready. That's this estimate that's very tricky at the moment. So this is why there is, particularly in large enterprises that have confidential information that do not want to get into anybody's hands, I would almost call it scrambling right now, which is getting the teams together, getting consultants together. They're doing it today. And then the mainstream is trying to figure out, is there a common body of knowledge? Is there best practice? What do we do? So there's a bit of a cause and effect. NIST was relatively slow to release the standards. They came out just last year. FIPS programs, certification programs are just getting in place. You need time to do all of that. But everybody's on the move. It's one of the most dynamic areas, I would say, in high tech right now.
Talking about discovery and the transition. So I would ask Janne, how do you see the importance of cryptographic discovery, and can you explain more about it, because actually is one of the activities that you are really good at it and what you are doing, which people they think that transition means like you go and you transit to new cryptography, and which is a lot of work need to be done, and that's why the timeline is really short comparing to what was supposed to take.
Yeah, thank you. This is a great question, and to complement what Simon just said, there's also the human aspect. Of course, there's a tech, there's a standard, but then there's the human aspect. What comes quite often when we start talking to our clients is that also the organization need to train their people. Like I've been joking that when I went to university a few years ago, it's been a while, but there hasn't been any need, the real need to learn anything new, because RSA, ECC, all of the foundational stuff was already invented, and I learned it during my university years, and I've been just happily deploying that last 25 years in my working life. Now, we all need to learn new skills, and that's actually, we don't want to learn new stuff. Like I know that my what I learned 25 years ago, it's been solid and it's working, but unfortunately that's coming to an end. Now, going to the discovery part, the other thing is that we also want to believe that, our systems are built so that we know what we run in our systems. And funnily enough, there hasn't been need, maybe let's put it this way, there hasn't been need to pay attention to the cryptographical assets and capabilities our systems, because it's been just working. It's been I use it like it's been a bedrock for all of the security solutions, the innovations we created 30 years ago, and how we've been deploying ever since. So there hasn't been any real need to understand what I'm really running in my engine room. Now, when we start doing the discovery piece, the typical finding is that we know less than 30% of our assets. So 70% are like, oh, we didn't know that we have these here. And the simple reason is that how the whole stack is constructed. We have something in the infrastructure side. We have firewalls, we have deep packet inspection, we have servers, we have applications and endpoints and so forth. And all of these appliances, applications, software, they build in some cryptographic capabilities into their layer of the system. And now my question is that how can you start planning it unless you know what you actually, what your current system is? And also the UAE regulation is basically expecting that the first thing what the entity need to do is to analyze their assets.
Exactly, which is very, very important. Can you imagine when we are looking at the space industry or the, let's say, the aerospace industry, and they use very, very old systems. And every time I think about it with the timeline, is like how they're going to start.
You don't necessarily want to hear this, but that might be okay, but when we start talking about the finance industry, the banks are still running the mainframes, God knows which year. Sorry, it's like from 50s, 60s. Yes. And that's where our money is.
Exactly. Yeah, this is very, very, actually, sometimes it's scary in a way or another to look at it from national security perspective. It is. It's bringing a big vulnerability to the country at the end of the day that can be used by adversaries. Speaking about adversaries, Simon, because you work a lot with NATO, it's important to understand. Do you think that the harvest now and decrypt later is really going on a large scale, or it's something that we talk about a lot and it's not there? And the second question, which is fallen under the same, do you think that this data will be relevant later on when we have cryptographically relevant quantum computing to decrypt this data?
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, yes, and yes. I think there were 3 questions. Maybe worth explaining a couple of things that we touched on, that Janne touched on. So we've lived in a very quiet, stable cryptographic world for the last 30, 40 years. If you look at Diffie-Hellman protocol, that's the basics of all public key cryptography, it's been around since, was it 74, if I'm not mistaken, when it was invented. So the internet would not exist without it as we know it. So it's been very steady. Nobody thought of this thing called cryptography, really. People just pick up open source, implement it, and off you go. It's everywhere. In fact, I was being demonstrated, a couple of anecdotes. I was being demonstrated a deep inspection, digital certificate inspection tool. I was thinking, why do you need that? Why? I said, well, you'd be surprised how many digital certificates you have, which is one of the fundamental parts of cryptography in a company. You need to authenticate systems, users, so digital certificates are important, carry those signatures. And, they run it on a laptop and it came out with, so the company said, oh, there's 7. We have a PKI management tool and we issued 7 certificates for this laptop. Here they are. So they run deep inspection tool and it finds 38,000.
Oh my God.
That came with operating system, that came with application. Some are dead, some are expired, some nobody knows what they are, and some of the rogue digital certificates cause major disruption, were cause of a major disruption, and attackers use them as well. This is just to give you an idea. So that's one laptop in one company of, say, 10,000, 20,000 employees. How many servers do you have? How many cameras do you have? And, it's just to give you a bit of perspective on what discovery of cryptographic asset means. This is just less than 0.1% what I described. Anyway, this is what's in front of us. Another anecdote. So when we were building the first cryptographic discovery agility tool in the industry, when I was at ICR in Canada, we were calling everybody we knew to ask them whether the problem is real. And one of the banks told us, yeah, we think the problem is real, and how would you fix our mainframe? Just to go back to mainframe. Said it still runs TLS 1.0, which is the original version, and can you upgrade it to post-quantum? Can you figure out how to fix it? And he said, okay, well, we'll upgrade it. And I said, no, you have to upgrade it, but you cannot touch it. So this is exactly what the situation is in many companies.
And we know, if it works, don't touch it.
Don't touch it. You cannot restart it. You cannot upgrade the code, but it has to be somehow post-quantum ready. Anyway, this is what's in front of us.
I would like to end up with something, because actually our time is running up. I want to bring this fight between post-quantum cryptography and QKD, because, well, there is no fight anymore, but it was in the beginning. Each is saying, well, I have the solution, but now we see more and more an agreement, and come to this agreement to say we need a strategy for both. Janne, can you elaborate?
Yeah, I don't want to pick up this fight. There is no fight. There is lots of, so okay, from the client and the organization perspective, this is the most confusing. If we start from the wording, you know, quantum, post-quantum, why don't we call it pre-quantum? Because what we do in our, you know, protocols and the software, it's actually pre-quantum, meaning that you need to prepare for the quantum era. And however, industry calls it post-quantum. And then we have the quantum technology with quantum keys, with quantum computers. And then there is no one-size-fits-all solution. You really need to start from, you know, discovery part, understanding what your current needs are, and then start planning your roadmap for the future. And I truly believe that there are needs for physics, the keys based on the physics, you know, especially for the critical infrastructure, but we can't secure each and every endpoint using that technology. So there's lots of different, you know, layers, pockets, and levels. Maybe you want to complement.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. Thank you. Yes, that's a big debate. I'll tell you what other people think, and I just filtered it through my mind with whatever experience I have last 25 years. What the experts that are bigger than me think, and what is actually going on. So a couple of fallacies or a couple of issues. A, is math permanent? No, it is not. Algorithms have you know, shell life, they expire. Do we know how quickly they will expire? Well, we were lucky with Diffie-Hellman, RSA, and so on. They live for 30, 40 years. However, the future doesn't look that bright. And it doesn't look that bright because quantum computing promises very fast execution of machine learning and AI, which in turn can bring a lot of new threats, unknown threats, very rapidly. So the consensus in the expert community is, confirmed by the NIST in a couple of conferences, is that this is not a static migration, meaning it's not fire and forget, migrate and sit tight for 30 years. What they're saying, it's going to be dynamic, there could be more standards, there could be changes, which is not good news for IT that to be in that perpetual migration state. If it takes you 10 years to migrate and 5 years down into a 10-year migration, there is a new set of standards, you just got a reset call to start again.
Exactly. So in order to have 2 words to say to the maritime operators, or maybe shipbuilders, we have the shipbuilding company here, yes. So in few words, what do you say to them?
I'm very brief. Start creating the post-quantum strategy today.
And you, Simon?
Yeah, leverage both available technologies already accepted by the expert community. They work wonderfully together. They're available immediately. And being quantum resilient today means no headaches, no issues, no risk, no loss of too many different things in the near future.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being with us. Thank you to the audience for sitting there and hearing about the threats of quantum. Yeah, thank you.